This is Travis Durham, Student Conduct and Advocacy Coordinator with Tri-County Technical College. And along with John Reynolds, we're going to spend a few moments sharing success strategies. So take a look at the following video clip and reflect on your thoughts regarding the incident.
She's the woman at the center of the notorious astronaut love triangle that shocked the nation.
I do still have anxiety. I do still look over my shoulder a lot.
In 2007, Colleen Shipman was attacked with pepper spray in the airport parking lot in Orlando. Her assailant was somebody you'd never expect, an American hero, a female astronaut, Lisa Nowak.
I feel like the whole program's back on track.
Nowak drove 900 miles from Houston to Orlando wearing adult diapers so she wouldn't have to pull over for bathroom breaks, 14 hours in all.
NASA astronauts are absolutely stunned over the arrest of one of their colleagues.
The story was so sensational, it became a ripped from the headlines plot on Law & Order: Criminal Intent.
You've got astronaut diapers.
The motive? Nowak was going through a bad breakup with another NASA astronaut, space shuttle pilot Bill O'Fallon, who was now dating Colleen Shipman. Nowak wanted to get her love rival out of the picture. But whatever happened to Colleen Shipman 10 years after she was attacked? Our Victoria Ricano traveled to Alaska, where Colleen settled into a new life. She's still coping with the trauma of what happened.
It was absolutely debilitating. I didn't leave the house for a 6-month period at one point.
Do you live in fear?
To this day, I'm always armed. I am armed all the time, 24/7.
In this surveillance video, you can see astronaut Lisa Nowak pacing the terminal in Orlando disguised in a hat, wig, gloves, and glasses. Then you see Colleen wearing a blue backpack. Nowak follows her down the escalator, then out the terminal to the parking lot where she pepper sprays Colleen. The disgraced astronaut pled guilty and was sentenced to just 2 days in jail and a year of probation. Her days in space were over. NASA fired her. The crime continues to haunt Colleen, even in her new life in Alaska.
If somebody were to sneak up on me, I jump out of my skin, and I can't help it.
But even a story as remarkable as this has a happy ending. Colleen got married. And her husband? Yep, it's Bill O'Fallon, the pilot at the center of the love triangle, who walked down the aisle in an astronaut flight suit, while Colleen wore a traditional gown.
I call him the best husband ever, because he is, and I tell him every day. He makes me laugh every day.
They now have a 4-year-old son, and Colleen has just published her first novel, Eerie, using the pen name C.M. McCoy. She says writing has helped her close that dark chapter from her past.
Are you at peace now?
I'm not saying I'm happy that happened, but I like where I am right now.
So after taking a look at the YouTube clip, as you see, this is an individual, was an astronaut who was in a relationship, didn't work out, and made some choices. So what were a few thoughts regarding this incident as you kind of watched the news footage? Do you think that the astronaut, Lisa Nowak's response to her situation was wise? Why do you think she would risk her career and possibly go to jail? And what do you think Lisa Nowak could have done differently? That's what we want to talk about as it relates to emotional intelligence's decisions. We want each student to be successful, and our goal is to help you successfully navigate any challenges that you may encounter during your educational journey. We plan to share some information and strategies that will hopefully help you avoid negative outcomes. So here, we're going to talk a little bit about what emotional intelligence is. Some people may have heard of it, some people may not have heard of it. So emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and your ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior and relationships. So emotional intelligence affects how we manage behavior, how we navigate social complexities, how we make personal decisions that achieve positive results. There is no known connection between cognitive intelligence and emotional intelligence. Intelligence is your ability to learn, and according to the research, it's the same at age 15 as it is at age 50. Personality is the stable style that defines us. It appears early in life and doesn't go away. For example, extroversion versus introversion. Emotional intelligence is a flexible skill that can be learned. And so we want to spend a few minutes helping you with some strategies to improve your emotional intelligence so that you can have more successful outcomes. In this Venn diagram, you can see that there is a link between your emotional intelligence, your IQ, your cognitive intelligence, or IQ, and your personality. So our goal is to help you assess and develop awareness in all these areas, and we want to help you improve your emotional intelligence. Your emotional intelligence is the foundation for a host of critical skills that impacts everything you say and do each day. Emotional intelligence accounts for 58% of performance in all jobs. 90% of high job performers are high in EQ, while only 20% of low performers are high in EQ. So you can see that EQ is correlated with high performance. People with high emotional intelligence, which is EQ, make on average $29,000 more annually than people with low EQs or emotional intelligence. So this is just another reason why you want to improve your level of emotional intelligence. So here's a diagram that kind of reviews what we discussed. Your emotional intelligence is the foundation for your critical thinking skills. And on this diagram, you can see a number of different things that you can read that are related to that. And our goal is to help you assess and improve your response to your environment. You may not be able to control what happens around you, but you can control how you respond to what happens to you. We want you to make decisions and choices that help you succeed. Here's another diagram that kind of outlines or previews the 4 skill areas that we will discuss in the upcoming slides. So take a look at and familiarize yourself with these concepts, and you may, once we review it, want to glance back at this diagram so that it makes more sense to you. So the first 2 areas that we're going to look at are related to personal competence. So personal competence has 2 areas: self-awareness and self-management. Self-awareness is your ability to accurately perceive your own emotions in the moment and understand your tendencies across situations. Understand what makes you tick. Self-management is your ability to use your awareness of your emotions to stay flexible and direct your behavior positively, managing your reaction to situations and people. So the next area that we'll review is social competence. So social competence has 2 areas as well: social awareness and relationship management. Social awareness is your ability to accurately pick up on the emotions in other people and understand what is really going on with them. It's easy to get caught up in your emotions and forget to consider the perspective of the other party. Relationship management is your ability to use your awareness of your own emotions and those of others to manage interactions successfully. So this ensures clear communication and effective handling of conflict. And we'll talk about conflict a little later. So here's a scenario that we want you to read and reflect on. So I'll give you a few minutes to read that, and then I'll follow up. Okay, after you read this scenario, what are your options in this scenario? Kind of think about what your options are. Do you just let the situation go and trust that your roommate Sam will improve? Do you become aggressive with Sam and make demands that he must follow or else? Or would you seek outside assistance from staff in how to handle this situation? How you respond directly affects the outcome of the situation and could help to either escalate or de-escalate the situation. In this scenario, because there are several different factors that you would be dealing with, we would suggest that you seek assistance, reach out to your resources so that we can help you make the best decision in this situation, because we want to help you make decisions that help you and your peers succeed. So, as we talk about self-awareness, here are a few self-awareness strategies that can help you. The first one is to observe the ripple effects from your emotions. Think about the possible outcomes of your actions before you respond. So take a minute and think about what's happening, how you're feeling, how you respond, and what the consequences may be of your response before you respond. And, another one is lean into your discomfort. Don't ignore tense conversations, but seek support in navigating these conversations. Tense conversations may not be pleasant, but if done constructively, it will help all involved grow. And it's a process that you want to learn throughout your life. Know who and what pushes your buttons. Be aware of your buttons. The more aware you are, the better response you can have because you're aware. Keep a journal about your emotions. Ask yourself, why do you do the things you do? Try to get to the root cause of why you do what you do and understand it. Visit your values. What are your values and beliefs? Consider if you're responding to things based on your values and beliefs, things that you believe, or are you responding because you're emotionally upset at the time? Seek feedback. We have a lot of resources and support here for you. You don't have to navigate challenging situations alone. So let us help you. Get to know yourself under stress. Understand how you respond and how to improve any areas of growth. Once again, utilize your resources, because we have a lot of resources here on both campuses to assist you. Additionally, here are some strategies to help you with self-management. And we talked about self-management earlier as well. So create an emotion versus reason list. Am I responding emotionally, or am I responding rationally to the situation? Make your goals public. Share your goals. Count to 10 as a strategy to calm down and be able to think before you respond. Sleep on it. Sometimes, when you're upset about something, spend a few, just sleep overnight. Sometimes when you sleep overnight, you calm down and you have more time to think rationally. So also talk to someone who's skilled in the area of self-management. Somebody that is very good at managing themselves. That's a good person to talk to about what they do and how they do it. Smile and laugh more is huge. Spend some time smiling and laughing, and college can be stressful sometimes, so you definitely want to have things that you do to help you de-escalate and balance. Set aside some time in your day for problem solving. Take control of your self-talk. Self-talk's important. What you say to yourself, what you feed yourself, affirmations, things of that nature are are very helpful. Visualize yourself succeeding. Clean up your sleep hygiene. Are you getting enough sleep? A lot of times if we're not getting enough sleep, we're a little bit more less patient. We're a lot less patient when we don't sleep well. So make sure you're getting proper sleep. Speak to someone who is not emotionally invested in your problem. So talk to somebody who can be objective. Put a mental recharge in your schedule. Time to recharge and take care of yourself. Accept that change is around the corner. So here are some strategies to help you improve your social awareness. Greet people by name. Watch body language. A lot of the communication that we do as human beings is not the actual words we say, but our body language. So pay attention to body language. Develop a back pocket question to help foster conversation. Plan ahead for social gatherings. So think about where you're going, what you need, what would be helpful, things of that nature. It helps decrease any anxiety that you may have. Live in the moment. Take advantage of the moment. Watch the emotional intelligence of people at the movies and observe what you see and see what you can learn from that. Practice the art of listening. Become great listeners. Become great active listeners. Go people watching. Observe people and interactions and things of that nature. That's very helpful. Step into the shoes of others. Step into their shoes. Try to relate from other people's experience. Seek the whole picture. So try to be objective and catch the mood of the room. And a lot of the strategies that we just discussed helps you kind of catch the mood of the room. So lastly, here are a few strategies to help you with relationship management. And we all have relationships. We have relationships with our professors, relationships with staff, relationships with your peers. So as it relates to relationships, be open and curious. Enhance your natural communication style. Avoid giving mixed signals. Take feedback well. Hopefully it's constructive feedback, so take that well. Build trust. Focus on building trust. Align your intention with your impact. Tackle a tough conversation. We talked about that earlier. Don't avoid the inevitable. Acknowledge the other person's feelings. So be able to reflect on what they said before you talk about how you feel. When you care, show it. Explain your decisions. Don't just make them. Help people understand what your rationale is for making decisions. And make your feedback direct and constructive. So helpful. So those are some relationship management strategies that hopefully can help you as you focus on those things. As it relates to any questions, no, this is a lot of information. There's a lot more information on emotional intelligence. So if you have any questions as it relates to managing how you respond to things, reach out to myself, Travis Durham, Student Conduct and Advocacy Coordinator, or John Reynolds, and let us support you with any questions or additional support that you may need in this area. Now we're going to go into conflict resolution and conflict management.
Hi, my name is John Reynolds, and I'm the Assistant Director for Residential Living in the Bridge to Clemson program. The next portion of this session will focus on conflict management. Conflict management is the practice of being able to identify and handle conflict sensibly, fairly, and efficiently. Learning to navigate conflict is an essential part of going through college and moving towards your future career. Being able to work through conflict takes practice, patience, and commitment. We'll be discussing different types of conflict, how people handle conflict, and ways to resolve conflict in the next session. There are 4 types of conflict that people typically have: intrapersonal conflict, interpersonal conflict, intragroup conflict, and intergroup conflict. The conflict that is happening inside of an individual is intrapersonal conflict. This conflict takes place when there is an inconsistency in our ideas, attitudes, emotions, or values. This type of conflict often occurs when people start to question the path that they are on. For you, it might look like questioning your major, field of study, friend group, connections with others, or passion areas. Interpersonal conflict is a conflict that takes place between individuals, friends, family members, couples, and even strangers. These types of conflicts take place when people are communicating directly with each other. This type of conflict occurs between people. Sometimes it could stem from intrapersonal conflict that is new or pre-existing. Conflict that occurs between a small group of people is intragroup conflict. This conflict can involve members of a family, a workplace team, and usually stems from individual differences that end up affecting the entire group. This can be due to ideologies, differences in opinions, or individuals straying from the norm or expectation. The last conflict is intergroup conflict. Intergroup conflict occurs between different groups. An example is a feud between the Montagues and the Capulets in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. When a conflict is large, it can continue for many years and is extremely difficult to resolve. This can show up in many spaces for you in college. For example, your apartment might not be getting along with another apartment, your friend group splits up over a breakup, or other situations that might happen within friend groups. These conflicts will show up in other types of conflict previously noted. You do not have to agree with another person to show them respect. Lastly, when we think of conflict, we often think about the negative aspects of conflict or the emotions associated with it, being uncomfortable, nervous, having anxiety, or being fearful, etc. These feelings are natural and will occur in all types of conflict. They are to be expected as you're navigating your first conflicts in college. Again, conflict is a skill that takes practice to navigate. When someone gets stuck in the emotions associated with conflict, it often accompanies a fight or flight mentality. Being able to understand which mentality you prefer or often go to in conflict will help you in being able to have healthy conflict and avoid unhealthy conflict in your interactions. People who have been through healthy conflict will display signs of trust and security. This is due to feeling validated in their thoughts and opinions with people they were in conflict with. Aside from lively conversations, it encourages divergent points of view since people involved in healthy conflict use active listening and are willing to seek solutions. It usually binds people closer together. Before the conflict, the individuals may have suspected that the relationship was healthy. After a conflict passes and the bump is absorbed, they know that they will be able to work through things closer moving forward. People who are in unhealthy conflict will often appear to be hostile or have troublesome body language, such as frowning, avoiding eye contact, and keeping a deliberate distance. People in unhealthy conflict have anxiety about understanding the issue or outcome. They realize they do not understand the decision, so they lash out to protect themselves to prevent others from realizing they do not understand. So why does conflict happen? Well, there are many reasons why conflict happens. There are structure conflicts, value conflicts, resource conflicts, ego conflicts, personality conflicts, and conflicts over fact. Structure conflicts happen because of something people cannot control. An example is a spouse who works different shifts and therefore don't see each other very often. This can generally lead to tension and ultimately conflict if people aren't communicating regularly. Values conflict occurs when people have conflict due to fundamental disagreements or on values. For example, some people may value hard work above all else, while another person thinks it's wrong to waste your life on backbreaking labor. Resource conflict occurs when two people fight over things that they want, but there aren't enough resources for both of them to satisfy the desire. This is a classic example where people fight over money. Ego conflict occurs sometimes when people are jockeying for position. When you have two people who believe that they should be in charge, conflict can easily erupt. A classic example would be parents fighting with a rebellious teen. Personality conflicts occur when people have totally incompatible personalities. They will find each other difficult to tolerate. These kind of incompatibilities can lead to conflict, especially if the people are forced to spend a lot of time together. For example, if you have one person who loves to talk and the other person who hates talking while they work. Lastly, there's always a conflict over facts. People often have conflicts because they have different interpretations of the facts in a situation. And an example would be two religious leaders with different interpretations of a sacred text. So conflict is inevitable. I'll say it again. Conflict is inevitable. That's right, you heard me. Conflict is inevitable. You can't ignore it. You can try and act like it will not bother you, but the fact is conflict will always exist because people are different. Conflict is natural in itself. How it is handled is how it is perceived. You have the power to influence whether you will have a positive or negative outcome from conflict. You may be asking yourself, how do people handle conflict? Well, there are 5 general ways in which people handle conflict: avoidance, accommodation, competition, compromise, and collaboration. Avoidance is I refuse to acknowledge the existence of a conflict. As a result, generally, you as a person will lose and the other person will lose because nothing can be done about the conflict. Accommodation is I do what you want in order to satisfy your needs. As a result, I would lose and you would win because I had to give up what I wanted or needed to make the situation better. Competition is either you or I win, but not both of us. This is a form of fighting. As a result, I win, you lose because only one can win. Compromise is you and I both give up part of what we wanted or needed to settle the problem. As a result, I win some and you win some because we're both giving a little. Lastly, collaboration. You and I work together to find an agreeable solution to the problem. As a result, I win, you win because we're willing to work together. This is the ideal way we encourage students to handle their conflicts. Please review the following scenario and then reflect on the following questions that I will ask of you. What are the main issues in this space? What are the conflict management styles being used by yourself, Chris, and the other roommates? How might this add up to the conflict that already exists in the space? Please pause the video until you've worked through each of these questions. Great. We know that people will come into conflict with different approaches. When these approaches are not understood, it can allow for greater issues to occur. For example, both Chris and you could be using the avoidance method to navigate the issue. You are using Post-it notes to share your concern, and Chris is using social media to respond. Both individuals in the scenario are not communicating with each other on the expectations they have or have provided in the space, and nothing is being resolved. To make matters more complicated, it appears that the roommates could be using competition method as they want Chris to move out if they do not get their way. Being able to recognize where people are coming from is essential in order to resolve the conflict. Why is Chris not cleaning? What is happening in his life to contribute to the lack of cleaning? How can you and your roommates be supportive of Chris about the cleaning while still maintaining this expectation? These are some things that you should be considering as you're navigating conflict in your space. As we start to recognize methods we or others use to navigate conflict, it is important to start looking at how to solve conflict we are experiencing while also trying to use compromising and collaborative methods. In this section, we will explore the 4 of the 7 steps to resolve conflict. Most individuals who understand the conflict that exists, communicate effectively, and work towards developing and choosing solutions will often be able to resolve their conflict. If the conflict continues to exist after the initial mediation, using steps 5 through 7 is advised. The first step in resolving any conflict is understanding why a conflict exists in the first place. Being able to understand your and the other person's investment is important. Asking questions such as, what are my interests, help you understand your level of involvement in the conflict, and it assists you in seeing how much of a priority this involvement is to you and the other person. Other questions include, why do I really care about this conflict? This question is something that you should be considering. What factors are impacting you most? What does this issue matter to you? In the case of cleaning, Maybe you cannot study if you do not have a clean space to be in. Maybe it is hard for you to cook food if your space is not prepared. What do I want out of this conflict helps you understand the resolution you would like to see. This is different than what I need in the resolution, which someone would consider their hard line. Another question is, what do I need to make it through the conflict? This allows you for you to navigate the conflict effectively. This could include reciprocity, engagement, understanding, and honesty. Lastly, what are your concerns, hopes, and fears about engaging in the conflict is important to understand. As mentioned earlier, people often feel uncomfortable about navigating conflict, and being able to understand and articulate what you are feeling is important in resolving the conflicts as it works for both parties. Communication about the conflict is also an important step that you should be taking when resolving conflict. It is easy to miss the first step, though, which is to listen to the other person. A lot of the times we will go into the conflict thinking about our own self-interest. This includes not acknowledging that the other person may have their own opinions about the conflict. It could also be significant time to see if the person even understands that conflict even exists and if they're being impacted. As you are navigating conflict, all parties should be able to participate in the conflict and express their own issues. Ensure that you are being an active listener to be able to articulate what you are hearing by rephrasing what others are saying. When you have the chance to share, be direct, speak about yourself and the things that you're experiencing regarding the conflict. When people share, we often encourage them to use I statements. When working towards a resolution, make sure that you are concrete in the direction, but flexible on the solution. If you come in with only one solution, you will leave with the same problem. Make sure that you're willing to find a solution that works for everyone. Finding the best solution requires that you come up with many solutions as an individual and as a group. This allows for that everyone's voice to be heard and that there are different perspectives supporting a resolution. Again, focusing on a win-win solution or compromising is needed to truly resolve an issue or conflict being experienced. The last bullet point of this slide is an example of when someone could be using a facilitator to help think through possible resolutions to a conflict. A win-win situation is possible when conflict arises, but takes commitment from both and or all parties to be accomplished. After brainstorming the resolution, ask each person what their preference in a resolution is and determine whether it is something that you can do. Are there parts that could be changed to fit your needs if something is missing? Are others in the conflict willing to accept those ideas? If yes, then it's important to write down that resolution and place it somewhere where it can be referenced. If you have an outside facilitator, they will often write it down and send it out via an agreement document at the end of the interaction. In the next scenario, please review the following script. Determine how you will resolve the issue in the space using the conflict resolution steps covered in the previous slides. Here are some questions to think about prior to reading. What issues might the space be experiencing? How would you approach the roommate to speak about why they are disconnected? What steps would you take to handle the conflict? After reviewing how you might handle this conflict, please review the presentation for additional information. The situation has a variety of factors that may impact the conversation. Listening and asking the appropriate questions will assist you in being able to figure out why one of your roommates is now disconnected. Believe it or not, this situation does happen, and it happens often. Some of the reasons why include homesickness, personal problems at home or with school, feeling left out or the fear of missing out, changes of interest, new friend groups, or other reasons that might be personal to them. Being direct and asking open-ended questions is important. Here are some questions that you could ask. We've noticed that you've not been hanging out with the apartment lately. What's been going on? Another question is, when I've asked you questions lately, I've noticed that you've only been giving yes or no answers, and it's concerning me. How can I help you? With the variety of outcomes in this particular situation, it's important to understand what is going on and what the conflict is. If the conflict continues to occur, please use your resources. Options include using a third-party mediator, Generally, this is someone not involved in the conflict at hand and someone that can provide an outside perspective. Other options include exploring alternatives to resolving the conflict. This includes changing friend groups, schedules, or moving out of the space, or coping with stressful situation and pressure tactics. Sometimes people choose not to resolve conflict. If this is the case, how do you navigate being in situations that aren't great? These are all things that we will help you with as you're navigating your college experience at Clemson University. Tri-County and Clemson both have resources for conflict management. At Tri-County, you can utilize wellness services, utilize conduct and advocacy services, and utilize REACH counseling services for conflicts that are happening on or at Tri-County's campus. While living on Clemson's campus, you may utilize your RA or other community staff, such as a graduate community director or community director who will assist you in those conflicts, seeking assistance through the Office of Community and Ethical Standards, which is OCES, or working with CAPS, which is Counseling and Psychological Services. All of these resources are free to you as students, and we would encourage you to utilize them as you're navigating conflict throughout your academic year. Travis and I both hope that this presentation was helpful to you as you're navigating your undergraduate experience. We hope that you develop some skills or at least learn something in regards to navigating emotional intelligence or conflict management. We hope that these skills will be useful to you as you're navigating your interactions with new people from different backgrounds and experiences than your own. If you have questions, please reach out to myself or Travis Durham at any time, and our information is located on the last slide. Thank you very much, and have a great day.